Do you ever feel like you're invisible? Like your voice is just lost in the noise? You try to speak up in a meeting, only to get talked over. You try to be agreeable in your relationships, and you get taken for granted. You feel unheard, overlooked, and it's frustrating. It makes you wonder if your voice even matters. Before you know it, you start playing small. You teach people to overlook you, and the cycle just keeps going. But what if the key to earning respect wasn't about being the loudest person in the room? What if it was hidden in a kind of quiet, ancient wisdom? The kind of authority held by the philosopher king, Marcus Aurelius, who ruled an empire not with a booming voice, but with a centered, unshakable presence. What if that same power was encoded in ancient biblical words, just waiting to be unlocked? We're about to uncover 5 biblical words that, when you truly live them out, will give you that same quiet authority and profound respect. These aren't just words to say, they're principles to live by. The first word is reverence. When we hear reverence, we probably think of dusty cathedrals or old, stuffy rituals, but its original meaning is far more powerful and far more practical. In the Old Testament, the Hebrew word is yah. It's often translated as fear, but not the kind of cowering terror you'd feel if you were in danger. It's a fear born from profound awe and deep respect. Psalm 89 verse 7 says God is to be held in reverence by all those around him. It's the feeling you get when you stand before something so vast, so powerful, that you're silenced, not by threat, but by pure wonder. This lines up perfectly with the Stoic virtue of piety. For Marcus Aurelius, this meant recognizing that you are part of a grand, cosmic order. It's a deep humility, the understanding that you are not the center of the universe. The reverent person isn't consumed by their own ego or their own needs, because their attention is fixed on something bigger. So how do you apply this? Imagine you're in a heated debate, everyone's shouting, just trying to win. Your first instinct is probably to get louder and fight back. But instead, you choose reverence. You don't check out, you listen with a quiet intensity. You start treating the discussion not as a battlefield for your ego, but as a messy, shared search for truth. Suddenly, something in the room shifts. Your silence isn't weakness, it's a deep strength. While everyone else is burning out, your quiet, reverent presence becomes a center of gravity. People begin to look to you, not because you yelled the loudest, but because your composure signals real wisdom. You command respect by showing it first, not to the loudest person, but to the very idea of truth itself. That is the authority of reverence. Our second word is honor. Now, honor can feel a little old-fashioned, right? Almost like something out of a military movie. But in its biblical context, honor is a core principle for how we should treat one another. The Hebrew word is kabod, which literally means weight or heaviness. So, to give someone honor is to give them weight, to treat them as if they have real substance, real significance. The command, honor your father and your mother, isn't just about obedience. It's about giving them genuine importance in your life. And this extends to everyone. As 1 Peter 2:17 says, honor all people. This idea of kabod has a striking parallel in Stoicism. The Stoics, especially Marcus Aurelius, believed in justice, recognizing the inherent worth in every single person. Aurelius famously said, "What injures the hive injures the bee," meaning we are all connected. For a Stoic, honoring others isn't about their social status. It's about recognizing them as a fellow citizen of the world. Both traditions teach that dignity isn't something you earn. It's something you're born with. And it's our responsibility, our duty, to acknowledge it. Let's make this practical. A junior colleague pitches an idea that you immediately see has problems. The easy thing to do is to shut it down, point out the flaws, and move on, flexing your experience. But that's dishonoring them. It treats their effort as weightless. The path of honor, the path of kabod, is different. You listen completely. You start by acknowledging the effort. You might say, "I really appreciate you bringing this to us. There's some strong thinking here." You give their idea weight. Then, you gently guide the conversation toward the issues, not as a critic, but as a collaborator. You might say, "Have we thought about how this might impact the budget?" By honoring your colleague, you haven't just fixed a bad idea. You've built a bridge of trust. You've shown them that their voice has weight, even when they're off the mark. And in doing that, you reveal that your authority comes not from tearing people down, but from building them up. People won't just respect your title. They'll respect you. That is the quiet power of honor. Okay, this next one might throw you for a loop. Fear. Immediately, our minds jump to anxiety, terror, weakness. But when the Bible talks about the fear of the Lord, it's using a word with a far deeper, far more commanding meaning. The Hebrew yah, yes, that word again, and the Greek phobos can mean terror. But more often, they point to that same deep reverence we talked about. Proverbs 1:7 says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." This isn't a fear that paralyzes you. It's a fear that pushes you toward wise and courageous action. It is a profound respect for ultimate truth and moral order. The Stoics had a similar idea. They taught that we shouldn't fear the things outside our control, what people say, what happens to our job, our health. The only thing a Stoic truly fears is the failure of their own character. They fear acting without virtue, without reason. Marcus Aurelius was constantly reminding himself to act with courage and discipline, not to be ruled by his emotions. A Stoic's fear isn't about what might happen to them, but about who they might become if they abandon their principles. Let's put this in a high-stakes situation. You're about to walk into a make-or-break job interview. Your heart is pounding. Your mind is racing with everything that could go wrong. That is common fear, fear of the outcome. But then, you shift your mindset. Your goal is no longer just to get the job, an outcome you cannot fully control. Your new goal is to act with total integrity, clarity, and courage, no matter what happens. You walk into that room with a calm that can almost unnerve people. You speak honestly and confidently, not because you're desperate to win, but because you're committed to being your best self. The person across the table can feel that you're not needy. Your strength is coming from a deep well of self-respect and a fear of compromising your own character. And paradoxically, by letting go of the fear of failure, you dramatically increase your chances of success. That is the authority that comes from fearing only the loss of your own virtue. So far, which of these words is resonating with you the most? Let me know in the comments. Each one is a tool, and I'm genuinely curious to know which one you're going to sharpen first. The fourth word is respect. While it's similar to honor, respect has its own unique flavor in the ancient texts, a flavor that gives us a powerful lesson. In the New Testament, the word time is often used for honor and respect. But there's another word, eidos, that adds a fascinating layer. Eidos carries a sense of modesty, humility, and a healthy self-awareness. It's not about groveling. It's about having an accurate opinion of yourself in relation to others. It's an inner attitude of considerate humility. This idea of eidos is a cornerstone of Stoic practice. Marcus Aurelius wrote constantly about the foolishness of arrogance and the importance of genuine humility. He even reminded himself, "Be not ashamed to need help." For a Stoic, real strength isn't pretending you have all the answers. It's having the humility to listen and learn. Respect for others, then, isn't a sign of weakness, but of profound self-control. Think about this common scenario. A new manager is hired, someone younger than you, and frankly, someone who seems less experienced. Your ego wants to resist, to subtly undermine them, to prove you know better. But that response breeds conflict and ultimately makes you look insecure. Now, let's try applying eidos. You choose to show respect for the position, even if you have your doubts. You listen in meetings. You offer your experience not as a challenge, but as support. You might say, that's an interesting approach. From my experience, one hurdle we might face is X. How can I help you navigate that? The effect is incredible. You're not seen as a subordinate. You're seen as a wise counselor. By respecting the structure, you solidify your own informal authority. Your new manager, who is likely feeling insecure themselves, begins to see you as an indispensable ally. You end up with far more influence than you ever could have gained through defiance. By embodying a humble and strategic respectfulness, you show that your confidence is so solid, it isn't threatened by anyone else's authority. That is power. Our fifth and final word is probably the most misunderstood of them all: meekness. Let's be honest, when we hear meek, we picture a doormat, timid, submissive, easily pushed around. But the biblical meaning of meekness, from the Greek word praus, is the exact opposite. It means strength under control. Think of a powerful war horse. It possesses immense strength, yet it's trained, disciplined, to respond to the slightest touch of the rider. When Jesus says, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth," he isn't talking about the weak. He's talking about those who possess incredible strength, but have mastered the discipline to control it. This is almost a perfect description of the Stoic ideal. The Stoics championed temperance, the mastery of your passions. Marcus Aurelius described the ideal person as being free of passion and yet full of love. The goal isn't to eliminate anger or frustration, but to hold them in check with reason, to respond to situations with patience, not a knee-jerk reaction. Meekness, praus, is that controlled strength in action. Imagine you are publicly criticized by a colleague for a mistake. The criticism is unfair and it's humiliating. Everything in you is screaming to retaliate, to expose their hypocrisy, to defend yourself with a furious outburst. That is uncontrolled strength. But the path of meekness, the path of praus, is to hold that power in check. You pause, you take a breath, you let that storm of emotion pass without acting on it. And instead of attacking, you respond with controlled strength. You might say calmly, "Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'll look into where our process broke down." The result is stunning. An angry outburst would have only made you look defensive and emotional. But your calm, controlled response does the opposite. It makes the attacker look petty. Your refusal to be dragged down into the mud demonstrates a level of self-mastery far more powerful than any comeback you could have delivered. You've kept your sword in its sheath, not because you're afraid to use it, but because you are disciplined enough to know that true victory sometimes means not fighting at all. That is the authority of meekness. So, there you have it: reverence, honor, fear, respect, and meekness. These aren't just words, they are blueprints for a new way of operating in the world. They teach us that true authority isn't grabbed through noise or aggression. It's grown from the inside out. Reverence connects us to something bigger than our ego. Honor teaches us to see the value in others. The right kind of fear anchors us to our principles. Respect allows us to navigate the world with wisdom. And meekness gives us the ultimate power, strength under perfect control. Just like Marcus Aurelius journaling in his tent at night, this is an internal practice. It's about building an inner fortress of character so strong, that nothing outside can shake you. Start with one word. Try to live it out this week. Let your quiet presence speak for you before you even say a thing. That is the path to commanding respect, not like a tyrant who demands it, but like a philosopher king who has earned it. If this video resonated with you, show your support by liking and subscribing for more ancient wisdom for modern problems. And I truly want to know, which one of these 5 words will you practice first? Let me know in the comments.